and gentlemen, thank you for joining me. I am the Fuzz, and I'm here to entertain. So, the patch we've all been waiting for. Well, kind of. But anyways, as the developers promised, they were going to do one more patch before the Pioneer Tournament, and it happened. They also said they were going to do more balancing after the tournament. But anyways, let's look at what changed. You're probably thinking, Dominion must have gotten smashed, right? Well, you'll see what I mean. So the changes have mostly been to Dominion and Nature, with one card being changed in Wisdom. So let's go over them really quick. Let's get the interesting one out of the way. Wisdom. What changed in Wisdom, you ask? Lamp of Zephyr. It now has 2 speed, not 3. I really didn't expect this one, to be honest. I've always thought Lamp to be kind of the only tool for these control decks to get around Cataclysm because, well, it doesn't die to Cataclysm, right? So having 2 speed instead of 3 is obviously quite a debuff because it's a lot easier to block. It's still a good card because you can still just use it to beat face whenever you can. Control decks will still use it exactly in the same way, and that is to, clear the board or shock the board and then use this to bypass their defenses, just keep hitting face. It's just that with 2 speed, it can be blocked by a lot more things. It's not unfair if you think about it. 4-3 with 3 speed was pretty strong, especially one that could attack and defend like this one could. So it's probably a reasonable change. Although at 2 blue, it's a little bit harder to want to run this. But I'm thinking the decks that use this card will probably still continue to use this card because it still does the job of being a source of damage that's not creature based. So I think it's a completely fine change, to be honest. And in Trials, it's still going to be a good card. It's just a little bit less good, but still good. But don't draft 4 of them like I did that one time. That's bad. 1 or 2 should be fine. Anyways, moving on to Nature. Elves. Elven Sanctuary. So this card now only gives +1/+1, not +1/+2. So this is exactly what I wanted it to do. I thought +1/+2 was way too good because it allowed a 1/1 scout to kill a 2/2 warrior, which was complete bollocks. Now they will just trade. So it's a small change, but it's fair. I think this version is considerably more balanced than the previous one. Will Elves still use it? Yeah, probably. +1/+1 is still good. Haldiri becoming a 4/4 can still kill a lot of stuff. It's just less obnoxious, I think, and that's good. So, good change, devs. I like these. And in Trials, well, I mean, it's not that different. It's a little bit worse, obviously, but still reasonable if you have at least some Elves. And the other one surprised me a little bit. The Elf Commander. So, he used to be unblockable. He still is unblockable, but rather than making everybody else unblockable, all your elves that is, you have to exhaust him to make one other elf unblockable this turn. So that's obviously considerably worse than before, because it means you can't pull off these ridiculous Swift combos. You play like a bunch of elves, you play this guy, and then they just all swing face because they're all unblockable. No more, ladies and gentlemen, no more. Now, he can do it, sure, but because he has to exhaust himself, he does not attack himself, which is a big difference. So this card is a lot worse than before. Is it even playable? Honestly, I'm not such a great connoisseur of elves to be able to accurately judge this, but if I were to build an elf deck right now, I have to say I'm not convinced. I think it may be a little bit too much mana. The body is still nice, sure, unblockable is nice, but the fact that he can't attack when you want to make something else unblockable makes him quite a bit worse. So we'll have to see. Again, I don't play elf decks. I don't like elf decks, but I think I would expect to see less of this card, quite a bit less, because it's just, I don't think it's worth it. It's only 1 mana, less than Haldiri, but Haldiri has Swift and 3 attack. It does mean that there'll be less burst by elves, because they can't make all their shit unblockable anymore. That's good. Also, I don't like elves. Hooray for that. And in Trials, it's actually not much different. You'll never have enough elves that this is actually a problem. So it's still a reasonable pick in Trials. So that's it for nature. Dominion, now that's what we all came here for, right? Hell yeah. So, right off the top, let's go straight to our customer number 1, the Windseeking Mutant. Well, they reduce his health by 1. So it's a 2-2 to start, and when he kills something, it's a 3-3 instead of a 3-4. That's actually a big deal, because 4 health was, I thought, way too much. It was way too strong, and it made Rage, like, impossible. Because you play this guy, kill 1 goblin, and then it takes like 2 more things to actually kill this guy. With 3 health, he dies to Fireball, Fire Blast, Haldir can just trade him off, or the Ambushing Sharpshooter with just the Elven buff. So, yeah, that's fair. It's still a strong card, but it's a little bit less ridiculous, and that's good. So, we'll have to see. I still think it should be run, though, because just the ability to remove things, or even just weaken things, is really good. It's just that he won't be as ridiculous. With the 4 health was absolutely retarded. A 3-drop with 4 health with an effect like this, unacceptable. Now, alright. I'm willing to give it a swing. I'm willing to live with this mutant. I still think it's a little bit up there in terms of power, but maybe it's okay. And in Trials, it's unfortunately still going to be absolutely ridiculous. Because, again, he comes in and removes something right away. And it can keep growing. It's just that the initial creature is not as dangerous. But still a really, really good card. You know, top pick. In Trials, of course. Should really be a rare if you think about it. It really, really, really should be a rare. Whatever. Anyways, next up. This card actually surprised me quite a bit. I didn't think it needed to be changed. Power Surge. So the change is that now you only draw a card if you end up with 7 mana and not 5. So you have to use it when you have 6 mana, and only then will you draw a card. So this means that probably only like 2 of the 4 Power Surges will draw you a card. It means that after you play the first one, you have to wait a bit to play the second one. So having 2 of them early on, or 3 early on, is actually bad now. See, in the past, if you had 2 Power Surges, you'd play one on turn 2, which would put you at 3 mana. Then the next turn you go to 4 mana with your Shrine, and then you play the second Power Surge, which puts you at 5. I gotta try to keep my hand in the view. And then you draw a card. So you advance your mana by 2 and only lost 1 card from the first Power Surge. Now you will lose both, which means multiple Power Surges in hand is a bit worse now, which is probably fair, honestly. Because ramping that quickly is a little bit dangerous, since after you do that, you can Cataclysm immediately after that. Yep. You can Cataclysm, well, turn 4, basically. If you play turn 2 Power Surge, turn 3 Power Surge, then turn 4 Cataclysm. Yeah, that's pretty lame. Not gonna lie about that. So, actually, I kind of approve of this change. Even though I didn't really think it was a problem, but I think the developers made an interesting decision here, so I support that. In Trials, I mean, it's not bad. You'll get to 7 mana later on, so it's still not a dead card later, which is good. It's just less good early, right? If you draw 2 Power Surges in your opening hand, you might keep 1 and send the other one away, probably. So, yeah, good change. And the last one, this is the main course. Power Lustincarnate. Now, we all knew how dumb this card was. And now, finally, it's just as powerful as before. Alright, so let's go over the actual effect. So what was changed is that now its default speed is 1, not your Dominion levels. But it was given a new ability. For 2 mana, he gets -2 attack and health, but +2 speed until end of turn, and you can only activate this once. So what does this actually mean? It means you can get him to 3 speed without needing to actually run 3 Dominion aspects. That's right. Yes, he has 1 speed on defense, always. But the thing is, this card was dangerous not because of its speed. I mean, the speed didn't help. But it was dangerous because you could drop it and it's like a 6/6. And, like, you just can't deal with it. And now it's actually arguably worse, because you don't even have to go up Dominion levels to get him to 3 speed. You can just, you could splash Dominion and throw him in, and you draw him late game, play him, it's a 10-10, you use the ability, it's an 8-8 now, but who cares? It has 3 speed. And actually, because you can use this in combat, if your opponent attacks your face or any other creature other than this, you can activate the ability and give him 3 speed and block. So basically what I'm saying is this card is not weaker than the previous one. The only difference is it's weaker for a mono Dominion deck because they can't get it to like 4 speed or 3 speed constantly. But for every other deck, it's better because it's still going to be a huge creature, but you have the option to get it to 3 speed. Come on, devs. Oh, man. That's really disappointing. I can't believe I don't know what it is with them and this card. Do they just underestimate its power or something? Needless to say, Blood Witch Harpy is still going to see a lot of play, just to deal with it, because, yeah. And also, interestingly, it now means you can steal this card, and it'll have 1 speed, because if you stole this card without Dominion levels, it had 0 speed. Now, though, it'll have 1 speed and even 3 speed later. Oh, man. I mean, in some cases, it'll be easier to deal with, because if your opponent has Dominion, and that means it's 1 speed, they could just run a Deadly Zombie into it to kill it, I guess. But honestly, considering just how powerful this card was, it needed a much bigger nerf than that. This is at most a small scratch that it barely even feels. It's still a ridiculous card. In Trials, it's still a ridiculous card. Maybe even more ridiculous than before, because in Trials, unless you went double Dominion, it would always have 1 speed anyways. Now, might have 3 speed. And the -2/-2 attack and health is really not that relevant if you think about it. Especially when you play him as a 9-9 or something. Oh no, it's going to be a 7-7 instead. That doesn't make any difference. It's still completely unkillable. And now the last card. Oh, I forgot. There's one more card that was changed in Dominion. Finally, Helm of Dominion is exactly the same as before. I am disappointed. I know developers didn't want to shake up the meta too much, but fuck this card. Seriously. That's all I'm going to say about Helm of Dominion. I'm hoping they change it after the tournament. So maybe you have to suffer with it a little bit longer, but maybe after that, we won't have to suffer with it so much. So that's what I say to Helm. Okay, I was not actually joking when I said there's one more change in Dominion. So the Overcharger is now uncommon, and Bloodborne Prince is now common. For constructed purposes, this has no relevance whatsoever. In Trials, it means you'll just see less Overchargers, which is honestly not a bad thing. This card is very powerful in Trials. +3/+3 is a huge buff, especially with Unstoppable, man. So seeing less of this card is probably good, although Mutant is also uncommon, and you frequently run to like people with 2 mutants or 3 mutants in their deck, so we'll only see it a little bit less often. I think this card does need to be tuned down a little bit. I don't care what rarity it is, but I think it should be 2 aspects, because you should not be allowed to play this card on turn 3. I think it's unfair. So, yeah. That's it. That's it for the changes. That's really it. Again, we weren't expecting a meta-breaking change or anything. So, let's recap. Elves. Are they much weaker? They're slightly weaker, which is good, I guess, right? If you think about it. I like that. Commander being weaker means they don't have unblockable combos as easily. The Sanctuary means they can't just control the board as mercilessly as before, but it's still pretty good. And the Dominion buffs, debuffs. Power Lust, basically no change almost. And Power Surge, again, I don't think it's going to make that much of an impact. A slight impact, but not much. And Bloodseeking, that's the only one that actually is going to matter. It's going to make Mutant less oppressive to play against. And that's good, of course. But I don't think it may have been enough of a nerf overall. I'm willing to live with this Mutant. Here, I'll pull him up, so we all get to gaze at his amazing glory. Really, this version is what he should have been after they made the Steam release. This is what they should have changed him to, not the 3 health shit. So I think I can live with this Mutant, more or less. It's nasty, but I can live with it. I would like it to be rare because I want to see less of this card in Trials. And what else? Powerlust, however, I cannot live with. That still card needs to be changed. And Helm also, because Helm makes big creatures bad. Yeah, like if you play a really powerful creature in the helmet, well, now it's yours. Actually, I've been thinking about Helm, and my solution for Helm is to make it so that when you steal the creature, the creature that you steal cannot attack and cannot use any abilities. It can only block. So you take it, and it's like this mindless drone just sitting in the front and like protecting you, right? Because that means that losing this creature is not going to be as punishing. Whereas if they steal your red dragon, that can actually kill you with it. This is why red dragon is only played as a finisher, because if your opponent helms it and he has like 8 mana left over, he could burn you for 10 and maybe kill you. Yeah, that sucks. And also Phoenix is being stolen is really bad. Whereas if they couldn't attack or do anything, it wouldn't be like as nasty, right? It wouldn't be as nasty. It'd be also interesting if the helm immediately put a weakness counter on the creature, because then, let's say if I helm something and you play like Gnome Power Engineer, you get your creature back, but it's a little weaker because we messed with its mind. I think that'd be interesting. You could maybe even make Helm 3 mana then. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Make it more flexible but less powerful. That's my mantra for card games. Less power, more flexibility. But anyways, that's all I have to say about this patch. Not really that many changes, but we'll see. Looking forward to the Pioneer tournament. Should be a lot of fun. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.